is where it gets a little interesting because we needed to create a return, right? We needed to create a portfolio return, and this is what we called PR. PR for portfolio return for the first five and the group one and group two. Okay? Because this is an equally weighted portfolio, we wanted to keep this simple, nothing fancy yet, an equally weighted portfolio. What that means is that the returns for the portfolio return for group one is going to be the equally rated return for all five stocks, or basically the average of each of those stocks. Because when you take the average, a simple average of those five stocks, it equally weighs each one of those returns, right? This is your simple finance. Same thing goes for our last five stocks. We just want the average of the last five. So here we go. Let's do that. And again, this is where your data slicing comes into handy. RET1, again, is a variable name, and it can be anything you want, call it anything you want. And this is we're now gonna calculate the returns of the first five. Now check it out, I need to get these values right here. YTD, I need to get, for the YTD column, I need the first five columns, the first five rows of the YTD column. Those five numbers are going to allow me to take the average. How do I do that? Well, we know how to do that. We simply call the YTD column, call the YTD column, right? This DF3 $YTD will give me all 10 numbers. I don't want all 10 numbers. I just want the first five. How do I get the first five? Head function. Right? Let me show you that down here. If we type that in here, I'm just copy and paste it down here in the console so you guys can see it. Boom. I got my five numbers, guys. You can see these numbers correspond to these points right here. Right? And now, like I said before, we just want a simple mean of these five numbers from our first return, portfolio return, and that's why I use the mean function. And there you are, return one. There's your return. So for the portfolio one or group one stocks, the return from the beginning of January 2017 to February 5th, 2018 was basically 6.4%. A 6.4% return, which, guys, was not really good. So right off the bat, this signal that we used, basically the returns, the 2016 intra-month returns, not very impressive. We didn't lose money, but it's not very impressive. Now let's check out the returns for group two. Now remember, group two is supposed to be the losers, if you will, of our intra-month signal. Okay? So let's check it out right here. I'm going to do the same thing as before. I'll call this RET2 for return 2. And instead of head, guys, I'm going to take the last five. Right there. There you are. All right. Here we go. Let's look at RET2. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Group 2's returns was higher. It was 9.93%. Right? So, I mean, obviously, the signal we use, the intra-month December 2016, I mean, what's the rhyme or reason for using that as a way to pick stocks? I mean, this is obviously just a way for you guys to get comfortable with R and do some sort of back testing and create signals. But right off the bat, we can see that, this signal for the first test, and obviously this is just one test, wasn't too successful. Right? So, let's close up the lab now. We have the numbers we want. For DF3, I wanted to add these to, I believe we call these PR for portfolio return, right? And we want to add this column. Now, as you see what I did DF3 PR. There is no column PR in DF3, as you can see over here in the console. When you do something like this, DF3 PR for, again, column PR equals to something, R understands that you're creating a new column in this data frame df3 on the fly, and you need to give it a value, a set of values, a vector of values, and then R on the fly will create this new PR within df3 and put those values in there. So the only catch is that vector that you pass in line 42 must be the same size as the number of rows in df3. We have 10 rows, we need to get 10 numbers. Okay? So return 1 is the portfolio return for the first 5 stocks, so we will just repeat that 5 times. Return 2 is the portfolio return for the last 5 stocks, so we'll repeat that 5 times. How do we create a vector that repeats numbers multiple times? The REP function, right? And we'll use C to combine it. So again, C here is going to combine 2 vectors, right? The first vector is going to be of length 5, and it's going to be the return 1 vectors. And I'm simply going to do rep return 1, comma 5. And here I'm going to do rep return 2, comma 5. And now this whole thing is going to become a vector of size 10, where the first 5 values are going to be the return 1 values, and the last 5 values are going to be the return 2 values. I run this. Let's take a look at it down here, guys. Boom. You now have your returns, as you can see, for each one of the tickers. All right. And our last thing we need to do is we needed to identify which group each stock belonged to. 1 was to signify that the stock was from group 1, and 2 to signify that stock was from group 2. And again, how do we do that, guys? And we wanted to put that in a column called group. How do we do that? We simply do line 42 all over again. Group. So the column we're creating on the fly is group. Anything we put after the dollar thing when we're setting something equal to it is going to become the name of the column. And here, instead of return 1 repeating 5 times, we just want to want to repeat 1 5 times. Instead of return 2 repeating 5 times, we just want to repeat 2 5 times. I run this. I run df3 here now. And as you can see, I leave df3 by itself so that when Sally runs the code, it'll print out the right results all by itself, line 4. So that's why we do that in line 44. We just leave our data object all by itself. And down here in the console, you can see now we have all the values we wanted from the lab, right? And it's now pretty straightforward, and hopefully you guys now understand exactly what was going on with lab 3, all right? I look forward to your comments on YouTube. And again, no trolling unless it's funny. All right, guys? Have a good night. Good luck on the exam.